Hello and welcome back to Evolved Models for part 2 of our King Tiger build. So recently what I've been doing is, as I said, I wasn't going to attach these straight away, and the reason is I wanted to paint some of these details first. There's some black that goes on here and there's some boxes here which look like they're supposed to be sort of a grey colour. I'll just zoom in. See that a bit better. A grey and this sort of sandy colour here and the cream white for this box. And I've done that all by hand, and obviously I thought this would be easier to do it if it was actually off. So here it is, and that's that one done on there. There's a piece of photo etch as well, which there was some sort of dial indicator that goes in there. Again, that needed painting white on the outside and black on there, so it was easier to do while it was off. And also while I was at it, I just painted the seat top of that same colour as well. So next up on my list of things to do is to prepare the torsion bar suspension. Now I've spent some time earlier on, and if I just bring them over, bolting them all together, and there's two different types. There's basically a long one and a short one. To find which is which. Are they the same? Essentially there's two different types, a long and a short, and whether they may be in here. Anyway, it doesn't matter, I need to get these sprayed up, and while I'm doing it I'm going to get these hubs done as well and get them all primed up ready to go. So next thing I'll be doing is firing up the airbrush, and we'll be getting some primer set down on these. So I do not believe we can put it off any further. We need to get some of this put together. And first of all, I'm going to do what I'm going to do one of these sides first. So I didn't paint this side of it, and I didn't paint the inside in there. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to get him stuck in, and we'll get some Tamiya extra thin down the join, and we should get him sitting pretty. So as you can see, I've done a fair bit of painting in here already to get it looking good. We will be able to go and brush afterwards, just with sort of dry brush, but for the time being we need to get this guy in here. So it is quite a tight fit, but it should go down. Just doing a test fit first of all, and there it is. It is a good fit, that is. And now I'm going to try and get the glue down the back of it, and we'll get that stuck in. Essentially what we're going to do is we're going to make sure the holes line up, so we can get the torsion bar suspension going through properly. So that is my next job. Now what you can see, but I just had to go off camera there and get that in. Now we have the linkage that connects in down the bottom, down there. It's pretty hard to see, you won't be able to see it on camera, but this is still relatively loose and free at the moment, so we've got some adjustments and we can move it around where needed. It should slide through and should come through the other side like that. So that's where we're up to at the moment. That's what we need to get going on with. So that was one side in, and now it's time for the second. And you know what? The super thin is actually a bit too thin for this, so we might have to go back to the old Tamiya cement, the thicker stuff, which I've not used. I don't think it's even been opened. But as always, we're going to do a test fit first. Swing it around so I can see it. It's always useful. And that goes in nicely as well, I think. And again, I think the holes all lining up. We'll have to hold it down. This time we're going to use the thicker stuff. We've got a bit of gap filling, haven't we, really? Well, I think it's time we installed the actual torsion bars, because then I can put the things on top of it actually. So let's get torsion bar installing. So after a bit of a fight, we've managed to get the torsion bar suspension in. I've not actually glued them in place, they're actually free to move a bit at the moment. So when I put the wheels on, I can sort of adjust them and make sure that they're sitting right. They ain't going anywhere, I'll tell you that for now. They're proper stuck down. But we've got some other bits to get on with now. We can do the weathering afterwards. It's easy to get a little brush in there to do weathering, just difficult to paint, but so far so good. We've got a first bit of Zimmerit to install on the front here. Obviously I'm not going to use super thin for this because it's quite a large chunk. I'm going to use the other stuff, so I'm going to get it on there. Give it a good paste in. Don't want this going anywhere. Good. Should just fall nicely into place there. What I'm going to do as well is put that on there. Keep that nice. Keep that nice while it's drying. Actually, I'm going to put two, one either side. One. And I've got another one here. So we've got two on there. Now I'm going to leave that dry now and we'll come back in a minute. When it comes to building wheels, there's not much excitement here, so I'll spare you. Just follow the normal process, get them off the sprue and take off all the gnarly bits. Once you've done that, go around with a soft sanding stick, taking off any blemishes, making sure you don't flat spot any of the wheels. So, what I've been doing recently, I've built the driver's seat and primed that all up. Bit fiddly, but it went together right. And again, some weird engineering decisions made with this one about how this goes together. But essentially, it's all together now, and I've primed it, and I've done the red oxide primer for this. A piece for the engine cowling firewall there, and the actual engine firewall itself. Zen is looking rather nice and good. On spraying it and looking at the instructions, turn over to the back. What I have forgot to do is there's some injector pin marks on here, and they're pretty nasty ones, and they are going to be on show. So I've just stopped painting this up for the time being. What I'm going to do is go in here with some filler and basically fill all the little injector pin marks. There's one that looks like an injector pin mark, which is here. It's not, that's actually part of the build. We need that, so we need to make sure we keep that in situ. But all of the other ones need to be removed. And the last thing is the fire extinguisher that goes inside, which I've just given it a coat of red on there. So I'm going to get busy with this now, and I'll see you back in a minute. Okay, so far then, injector pin marks filled on here, as we can see, so that's going to go in for priming in a second. While I was waiting for that to dry, I did a couple of other bits. So got the seat painted and ready to go. We'll weather this when it's inside. The second thing was the fire extinguisher, which I've just done a bit of work on and just painted it black and put the sort of aluminium ribbing around the side of it that will hold it on. So that's ready to go again, bar weathering, but we'll do that later. So I'm going to go back into the spray booth and get this all primed up and ready to paint. Okay, so I really should have painted the outside of these white or cream colour before putting the thing in, but the instructions was asking me to put bits and bobs in and get moving with it, so I was a bit stuck really. So what I've done is I've come up with this plan. So essentially I've put a tarpaulin over the top of it of Tamiya tape. Goes all the way across. I'll deal with these afterwards, but for the main thrust of this I'm just going to show what I'm going to do. And basically I pressed it down here, and we know where the gap is, and essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the blade straight down the gap. Just make sure we've got him all. And then we can peel this off, and it should leave us the correct exact space where we need to paint. And obviously I'll cover this bit up and then we can spray without worrying about getting it on the other side. So I could just do the same one here. So again, I've pressed it down. I'm just going to find the edge. We've got a sharp blade. Down the gap, just letting it follow through. It's a bit thicker here, so I'm just going to go over it a couple of times. So we don't hear it cut anymore, and there we go, through. So again with this one, you should be able to pick that one off. You should be able to get that bit off there. And just push them down, and that should give us a nice clean edge for the inside. So I'm just going to tidy up the front bit, and then we're going to get on to spraying it. So as usual for the primer, I'm going to be using the AK micro primer micro filler using normal airbrush. I've just put some cotton wool buds in there just in case there is a bit of overspray. I'm just going to chuck the fan on because we know this stuff stinks, and I'm going to be quite careful in the way that I spray this. So let me just turn it off a second. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot that way, going across it, and again on that one, and when I come to here I'm going to generally try and be a bit careful and obviously try not to get any overspray in there. So here we go. And there we go. So that's the primer done. We need to do the cream wise. Obviously we've got a couple of pieces to do with that. We have the plate here to do as well, which I did the injector pin marks. So we're going to do all of those all at once. And yeah, we'll be back once this primer's dried then. So for the cream coloured on the tank, it's Crimwise Rail 9001. Now I've got two options really. I can make my own because I've been using MRP paint specifically at the moment for all this, apart from the primer. And I've got a US Navy white, which is quite white, and it's not far off the actual colour itself. It may just need a little bit of other pigment just to make it a little bit darker, more cream, maybe a bit of a brown in there or something. I can make a batch up. But I have got a set that I bought not too long ago for doing a Tiger 1, and it is this MIG set, and it actually comes with the Crimwise in there. I do like the way the MRP stuff goes down though, so I'm a bit torn between which one to use. Obviously this is all pre-made and ready to go, and it's not that far off. If we look on here, actually if you look at the bottoms of them, they're not far off at all, the white and the cream. Maybe just need a little bit of brown in this to make it spot on. So we will find out. I'm going to get painting this shortly, and I will let you know what my decision is. So right, what I've decided to do is to mix a batch up of using the MRP paint. So I used the base of navy white, which is the majority of what's in here, and then it was sort of a yellowishy brown in here, and I'd got a dark yellow from MRP, which was a German colour as well, and I've added probably about 5 drops into that much paint. So essentially it's that full. There's about 5 drops in there just to knock it off a bit and make it look more the creamy coloured. And if you shake them both up, see they look identical in here now. So I'm going to be using this, and I've made a batch up so I can use it for the rest of the vehicle as well. And I'm going to fire up the airbrush. We'll see how it sprays. So I've got 2 items to do. I've got obviously this bulkhead plate, and I've got the top here. So here we go. And that's looking good, I like that. So that'll do for a first coat, and we can move on to doing this. What I'm going to do is shove on my mask because it's getting a bit foggy already. Okay, so after all that, we've got the cream vise laid down on there. It's looking quite nice, if I don't mind saying so myself. Let's zoom in a bit. So the cream on there, I think it was looking rather swanky. It's nice. And on here, we'll have a big reveal and see how much overspray that I've caused. I know there's some bits I'm going to have to redo in primer red. Specifically these edges on here, they're going to need to be re-primer redded. But if you've got shares in Tamiya tape, you're probably doing alright at the moment with the amount that I use. So let's see if my little trick worked. So there she is. Keep my cotton balls for another time. And yeah, I think that's a good little trick, that one. I quite like the way that's come out. Well, that's all for today, folks. See you again next time.